Good morning. All right, it is day 5 of the whole Christmas story, and finished up week 1 by reading in Jeremiah 23. So, in this first week, we've read essentially of God's prophecy of Jesus, where he's talking about you know talking to the serpent, saying he will strike your head and you will strike his heel. We've got Isaiah's prophecy. We have Micah's prophecy, and we have Jeremiah's prophecy. And I've got some notes here that I'm going to read just to kind of recap these things. So, in Genesis, so God is promising a coming offspring who will be wounded. Okay, so he's struck by the serpent's heel, or if we look at the actual wound that happens, of course, it's Jesus on the cross. That he will defeat Satan, where he says he will strike your head, and of course, defeating Satan, that part hasn't happened yet. That is to come in the end times, and to undo the fall of man. So that basically God is establishing the need for a savior. All right. Then you've got Isaiah, and Isaiah is prophesying a virgin birth. And we had that near term prophecy and the far term prophecy. He's prophesying the coming of a righteous, divine king. So a king that is not human, a king that is a God, a spirit filled ruler from David's line. So from the Davidic line, and a future reign of justice and peace, which of course that hasn't happened yet. Either the prophecies have they've been interesting to read because they go basically straight from the birth of Christ into the millennium and the new heaven and the new earth times, which neither of those have happened yet. All right, then we have Jeremiah, who is prophesying a righteous branch from David's line, a king who will rule justly. They really haven't had that yet. They have had some good, godly kings, but for the most part, these kings have just been these, wicked kings that they're very unjust kings. And that this one who is born will be called the Lord our righteousness. So it's confirming the lineage of Jesus, and his divine nature, which honestly, his divine nature is also his lineage, because you have the lineage from David's line, but the lineage from God. Okay, and then we have Micah, who is prophesying the Messiah's birthplace. He was the first one to say that that the Messiah would be born in Bethlehem. And he also prophesies his ancient origins, so that he is God, and Israel's temporary abandonment. So the time from the exile until all of the Jewish people come back to Israel. So the remnant of Israel, as it keeps being referred to, and then a future restoration under Jesus. So where Jesus is reigning from David's throne, in this place where all of the Jews who have been exiled have come back to, and that at this point the Jews have accepted Christ as the Messiah. So it's pretty remarkable, because this was, all of these things were like, these were prophecies by different men in different centuries to different audiences. And there's different things happening politically in each one of those times. And one of the things that's cool to me is how much it relates to today's world, with the political state of today's world. But like these prophets, they and I'm going all the way back, including God in that. Not that God is a prophet, but God was the first one to say, to mention something about Jesus coming, the Messiah. So none of them contradict each other. They build upon each other. So you've got a savior is coming. You know, he will strike your head, you'll strike his heel. We've got, he will be a just ruler, divine in nature, uh, and we've got he will. Um, so all these things build upon each other without contradicting each other. Uh, so it's cool to see all of that happening, and also to understand why it needs to happen with the future things, the things that have not happened yet. Still, from now in 2025. I mean, we still have this entire idea of the millennium and the new heaven and the new earth, which are still to come. But to be able to see things that are happening modern day that are leading towards that happening. The Jews have begun to return to Israel. That started in 1947 through today, and there's prophecies that hold true there, where you have this tiny people group that are defeating their foes against all odds, and I mean, the Bible just straight up says that that's going to happen. But there's still a lot that needs to happen, in that the Jewish people need to accept Christ as the Messiah, before before Jesus returns and reigns from the Davidic throne in Israel. So, like I say, the return has been happening since 1947. If what's happening now is the biblical return that was talked about in Old Testament times, going back as far, well, the biblical return going back as far as about 1000 BC, is when this stuff started being talked about. So, the when we look at Isaiah, we're looking at about 1000 BC, and it's in that order of, okay, God, speaking of the Savior in Genesis around 4000 BC to uh, to Isaiah, prophesying around 1000 BC, to Micah prophesying, I think it was around 740 BC, and then Jeremiah prophesying, like in the 500 BC time. Wait, no. Sorry, got that wrong. Micah was actually, I believe Micah was actually right around, like, actually overlapped BC into AD. I could be wrong about that. So my brain doesn't hold on to this stuff really good, and like, there's so much that I'm taking in right now. So let's see. I'm looking. No, Micah was 735 BC. Jeremiah like 580 BC. So yeah, it was God, Isaiah, Micah, then Jeremiah. Um, and I get them confused because the just the chronological order is a little bit tough to understand. But yeah, so that's where we're at for week one. I will see y'all next week.